Singapore Deputy Prime Minister Heng Keat says investment in nature can be a new asset class like in agriculture and crops if properly structured. Now, he is speaking at Ecosperity Week, an annual sustainability event by Temasek. Mr. Heng pointed out how Southeast Asia is home to the largest blue carbon stock in the world, which can capture and store large amounts of carbon. And to catalyze the flow of capital to unlock nature's potential, Mr. Heng said there is a need to build a carbon marketplace with robust governance and trust, such as by implementing consistent global standards for reporting. This as he acknowledged that there is still some way to go in arriving at concrete plans to achieve climate goals.
This journey can be much easier if we are able to reimagine our constraints and turn them into opportunities. We can do so by making the trade-offs of going green less stark through science and technological innovations. We must change the way we view nature. It is not something to be sacrificed, but something to be treasured and invested in to achieve our climate goals. We can consume less while still achieving more through new business models in a circular economy.
Biodiversity and nature loss is not just an environmental issue, but a key business concern. Now, a new study estimates that corrective action can unlock 5.8 trillion Sing dollars in business opportunities in Asia Pacific by 2030. 232 million jobs a year could also be created. It estimates that 63% of the region's gross domestic product, valued at more than $26 trillion, is threatened by the global biodiversity crisis. The report by Alpha Beta, Temasek and the World Economic Forum was presented at the Ecosperity conference. It looked at nearly 60 different opportunities to reverse biodiversity and nature loss across 3 specific areas: food, land and ocean use, infrastructure and energy. One of the authors from the study says developing renewable energy while minimizing the impact on nature is the biggest opportunity.
We're going to need roughly 1.1 trillion US dollars per annum to invest in these opportunities. Now, while that's a big amount, that's less than 4% of what the Asia Pacific economy spent in terms of the COVID-19 pandemic response. So we showed with the COVID-19 pandemic that when we want to set our minds to it, we can really drive this scale of change. And we need a similar kind of mindset when we come to tackling the biodiversity and nature loss challenge.
Well, still on the Ecosperity Week, Temasek has pledged $3 million to support a new 5-year research program focusing on blue carbon. Blue carbon refers to carbon captured by coastal ecosystems like mangroves, which can help in preventing climate change. Researchers say there is currently a lack of data on how much carbon is stored in our forests. For example, how they change seasonally and annually, as well as how environmental conditions affect how carbon dioxide is captured by such ecosystems. This new project seeks to address these knowledge gaps to build more robust blue carbon monitoring, reporting and verification methods. The program will be carried out by the NUS Center for Nature-Based Climate Solutions alongside experts in Southeast Asia. Researchers are hopeful this will enhance understanding of the region's blue carbon potential and in turn apply that to conservation strategies. Well, Professor Koh Lian Pin, director of the NUS Center for Nature-Based Climate Solutions, joins us now. He also spoke at the Ecosperity Week this morning. Well, Prof, how exactly does blue carbon fit into the climate change puzzle, and how far behind are we in the gaps mentioned earlier?
Blue carbon ecosystems such as mangrove forests contain vast quantities of carbon in their tree trunks, branches, leaves, as well as in their root systems and in the waterlogged soil beneath them. The loss of these blue carbon ecosystems represents a significant source of carbon emissions, which, as we all know, is the main cause of climate change. Some blue carbon habitats, such as seagrass meadows, are also very efficient in capturing and removing carbon dioxide from the atmosphere through photosynthesis. They have very high rates of carbon sequestration. But the problem is we still don't have a very good handle on the carbon stock and sequestration rates of blue carbon ecosystems across many parts of Southeast Asia, or on how we can effectively monitor them over time. Our ability to answer these questions are critical for us to realize the full potential of blue carbon ecosystems in generating high quality carbon offsets to help meet the climate goals of countries and companies in our region.
So, Prof, how will this project be carried out? What are the immediate next steps, and which stakeholders will you be working with?
Yes, this new blue carbon research program supported by Temasek will involve laboratory experiments, regional field surveys, remote sensing, and ecological modeling to be undertaken by NUS researchers and our collaborators from across the region to address current gaps in blue carbon science. This research program is particularly important and timely because it will help increase Singapore's capacity for data collection from mangrove and seagrass habitats across Southeast Asia.
Well, also want to ask, where in Southeast Asia do you see the most blue carbon potential, and are we already tapping into these sources?
So there are about 14 million hectares of mangrove forests worldwide. About 20% of these mangrove forests are threatened with deforestation and therefore could potentially generate carbon offsets if they are protected as carbon finance projects. The vast majority of this blue carbon potential is found along the coasts of Indonesia, Myanmar, and Vietnam. And as we begin to invest in protecting these blue carbon sites in our region, we also need to invest in improving our understanding of blue carbon science, improving the carbon accounting and monitoring methodologies and standards, as well as developing capacity at the local level across the region. We need to do all of that to ensure that these nature-based projects do result in real carbon emission reductions and removals.
Well, Prof, also in today's panel, you spoke about holding buyers accountable and ensuring offsets are not used for corporate greenwashing. That's where companies, are deemed more environmentally sound than they really are. So why is that important, and how can it be executed?
Yeah, so at the same time that we are seeking high quality nature-based carbon offsets from the region, we also need to ensure that these offsets are not being used for corporate greenwashing, because there is always the risk that big businesses will simply buy up carbon offsets without actually making the effort to reduce their carbon emissions from the use of fossil fuels in their operations or value chains. For us to prevent corporate greenwashing, I think we need to hold to very high standards, both the suppliers and buyers of carbon offsets. On the supply side, we need to ensure that the carbon projects deliver real, additional, and permanent benefits, not just for climate change mitigation, but also for biodiversity and local communities on the ground. And on the demand side, we need to ensure that the buyers of carbon offsets have in place concrete plans and policies for transitioning their businesses to lower carbon economy and are not relying solely on carbon offsets to reduce their net carbon emissions.
Well, thanks for speaking with us, Professor Koh Lian Tin at the NUS Center for Nature-Based Climate Solutions.